Be sure to check out my store for the stuff I use and templates at a low cost, and get my everything pack so you can have everything in my store at a reduced cost, less than $20 if you tweet it out. What's up guys, Qehzy here bringing you guys another tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create facets in Photoshop. So I'm sure you have seen these around. There's a lot created by the man Justin Mahler. If you just Google facets, like all of them that come up are by him. If you want, or if you're not familiar with him, this is like his website. He's got a bunch of them. He's really good at it. I've always wondered how to do this, and I finally figured out my own technique to doing this in Photoshop. You guys might be familiar with my buddy Julian or Flo's tutorial in Illustrator. His technique is a good one too, like really well done. But I think my audience is a lot more Photoshop based. So I wanted to show you guys how to do it in Photoshop, and it might be even easier than the way Julian does it. I'm not too sure. I haven't done his technique personally, but hopefully you guys enjoy this, and let's just jump right into it. So the first thing you're going to want to do is create a new new document in Photoshop. So I just did a 1080p document, 1920 by 1080p, 72 resolution. Okay, and I'm just going to double click to unlock the background, and the first thing we want to do is create a background. So I picked two colors based on Justin Mahler's facets. Two colors that he uses a lot are a blue and a green, and so I did the same thing, and the green color is 2CA287, and I'm just gonna click OK on that, and then you want to go to your second color and get the blue, which is 00093E. Okay, and then you want to go ahead to the gradient tool. Make sure it is radial. You can also do linear if you want. And then you want to make sure you have those two colors selected. And if you probably want to go green to blue, because I think the green as the circular part looks a lot better than the blue. So I'm going to go from like the top left to the bottom right like so, and create something like that. If there's too much of one color, you can just keep clicking and dragging until you get something that looks pretty good. But I think this is pretty alright. So let's go ahead and create a new layer. Go down here to your colors and just hit the black and white color so it goes back to that. And we want to go get the pen tool. And we're going to create some sort of four-sided object, because I think it's the easiest way to do it is using a four-sided object of some sort. So I'm going to create sort of a kite shape, I guess you could say, with like a longer end and like a shorter bottom like so. That's pretty good. I'm actually going to Command T on that and make it slightly bigger. And I'm going to just change some points. So I'm holding Command and clicking and kind of modifying this a bit. So something like that. I think that's a pretty good shape. Maybe make it slightly thicker. It's a little thin. Something like that. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to right click, fill path, and I'm going to go to color. I'm going to be using a blue color, and it's actually the one I have up, so it's 619CC5. It's this blue color, and you can obviously go ahead and use any color you want. Kind of keep it in the middle like I have it. It's like in between the gray and the main color, and slightly from the bottom, sort of in the middle. Click OK, right click, delete path, and there we go. We have our first shape. Now I'm going to name this main, and you might want to name every layer we use in this to make it easier, but obviously for tutorial sake I'm just going to be naming things as little as possible. So we're going to take this main layer, Command J to duplicate it, and Alt click on that layer to make it a clipping mask. I'm going to double click on it, go to color overlay, and I'm going to select this color, which is 416984. And if you recall, the original color for main was a blue like right here. So this is actually a blue right in the middle of this square here. So it's just like a slightly darker blue, and you want to go ahead and do that for whatever color you're using, so it's like a darker version of it. And then click OK and OK. Right click, rasterize layer style, and then you want to Command T to transform and just make it slightly smaller, and then try to make it as even as possible around all the edges. So something like that is pretty good. That's probably as good as we can get it. Now we want to do one side of this sort of four-sided shape, and we're going to create a new layer. alt click on that layer to make it a layer mask. This is going to be layer 1 and any of its copies are going to be white overlays, and layer 2 and its copies are going to be darker overlays. So keep that in mind. So this is layer 1. We're going to make this a light overlay. So I'm going to have white selected, although it won't really matter. And we want to zoom in here and cut this right in half from point to point. So boom, and then select the top half, which would be the lighter half. The bottom would be darker. And that's like, you want it to split the point so it's perfectly even. I forget the term for that. I should know, my dad's a geometry teacher, but you want to split it right down the middle. Then right click, fill path, and select white. OK, right click, delete path, set it to overlay, and then 50%, hit enter, and then go ahead and duplicate that layer. Alt click on it once more. This time press and hold Command, click on the main layer's thumbnail, like right there. Go to select inverse, right there, and press delete. Then Command D to deselect. So this shape now will not have all the baggage on the outside, and we can kind of make it smaller to fit in our shape. So Command T to transform it, make it smaller, and we just want to move it over to the right so it overlays the edge and kind of creates this brighter line going through it, which is pretty cool. And then we want to Command J, duplicate that again. This time we're not going to set it, or we're not going to make it a clipping mask, but we're going to Command T and rotate it slightly. We can change the size if we want, but we're going to move it towards the outside like that, and maybe put it at the edge. So that looks pretty good, but we want to have it sticking off so it kind of breaks up the perfectness of the shape. So we have parts sticking out kind of like it's shattered or broken or something like that. I don't know, it makes it a little interesting. We can have it coming out the bottom too like that if you'd want. I think that looks pretty cool, so I'll leave it like that. But then you want to select both these layer 1s, Command J to duplicate them, and then press Command I on both layers individually. And I said that each layer 1 would be a light overlay, but this is, each layer 1 is part of the light overlay, I guess, since this is technically a dark overlay. But select one of them, Command T, resize it, just make it slightly smaller, and then just reposition it somewhere to get an interesting overlay. So I'll put it like there, and I'll take the second one and just kind of move it towards the outside like so. So that's pretty interesting. That gives us a bunch of different colors and overlays and stuff in the lighter side. I think that's pretty cool. Now this top clipping mask layer, we want to double click on that and name that something else. I'll name it top. So we know this is the top of the light side, so everything from here on down is part of this side, and then anything we go from here will be on the darker side. That's just the way I remember it. You guys can use your own methods if you have them. But we're going to create a new layer and do the same exact thing to the darker side. So let's grab the pen tool, let's split it, split the shape again right down the middle, and you can see I did not get this perfect, so I'm going to Command click that point and readjust it so it lines up perfectly with the one before. Let's right click, fill path, and this time go black. OK, right click, delete path. Now the black is really dark and it contrasts it a lot, and I didn't like it how it looks, so I press Command U and go to lightness and just go 25, so it's like a darker gray, and I use that. You can use any sort of gray you want if you want more contrast, etc. But we can always adjust that with levels or other color correction methods later on. But we're going to set that to overlay and 50% like before. And again, we're going to duplicate it, Command J, keep it as a clipping mask, select the thumbnail of main, so Command click, select inverse, and then delete, Command D, Command T to transform, make it smaller, and then just reposition it so we have a slight darker overlay around the outside like that, which is cool. And then we duplicate this once more. Again, we are not going to make this one a clipping mask. In fact, we're just going to rotate it and bring it towards the outside like that. So that's pretty cool. Now select both the layer 2s that are clipping masks, Command J, and then Command I to inverse them individually. And again, just reposition these somewhere else. So I'll make this one slightly smaller, bring it in, and then get this other one and bring that one in, maybe overlay it like that. That's kind of interesting. You just want to find a place that makes it a little more interesting with more lines and colors going on. And I think that is pretty cool. That looks good. And that's basically the main shape done. Now we want to add some gradients and things to make it a little more interesting and we make it more like three-dimensional, I guess you could say. So select all these layers from main to the topmost layer. Command G to group. And you can call this whatever. I'll just call it shape. And we're going to create a new layer. Alt click on that layer because it will be an overlay. And we want to select the brush tool. I'm on a 400 brush and I'm going to get black first and go across the bottom. So something like that. Real gentle. You don't even want a lot of it. Just a general little darkness. And then you want to get the white and do the same thing to the top. Just a little bit like that. And then set that to overlay and continue the theme of setting our overlays to 50%. That'll work. And then you can open up the shape, and if you want to get even more gradients going on in the shapes, you can go to individual layers and do that. So I do it to 5 layers actually. So the first overlay, which is the main copy, which is that one you can see, you can double click on that one, go to gradient overlay, select black to white, overlay. I have mine at 30%, and then the angle sort of matches up with our shape. And mine's on reverse, so the black part is down here and it goes to a lighter part up at the tip. And you just want to do something similar. Click OK, and you want to go to the next layer, which is the one right above it, which is the main white overlay. Double click on that, gradient overlay. You can reverse this if you want to make it a little more interesting. You can leave it at the same so it keeps it dark. You can change the angle even if you want to change it up even more. I don't know, you can just play around with the angles, get different looks and things like that. I think I'll keep it sort of the same. Okay. Then remember the layer we named top. You want to go to the layer right above it, which is layer 2. Do something similar. This time I'm going to uncheck reverse so it's like the opposite. Click OK. And then the 2 layers that aren't clipping masks, we want to do it as well. So gradient overlay on this guy. Again, I'm going to leave this without checking reverse, and then the second one I'm going to check reverse, and boom, that's pretty sweet. Click OK. I think I'm happy with that, and that just kind of makes it a little more interesting. That overlay might be a little too dark down here, but for tutorial sake we'll just keep going anyway. So let's go ahead and have the shape group selected and go down here and get a hue and saturation. Now you don't have to do anything right now, but when we select all of this and Command J to duplicate, we can change the color. So double click on the hue and saturation and we can pick a color like a green. So I'm going to go until everything's fully green like that, and I'm going to select all of this and Command T and transform it. So let's make it slightly smaller, and we'll just rotate it to the left and maybe make it slightly, maybe make it slightly smaller. Actually, that's too small. And boom. Alright, I like to keep all the points kind of out, so this points out, this points out, this point sticks out, and this point sticks out. I don't cover any of those up, although they will be covered up later on, but just when I'm doing the shapes and duplicating them, I don't like to cover them up like the first 3 times or so. So duplicate this one again. We'll change the color once more, and we'll go to like a pink or purple. Pink will work. And I'm actually going to select this one and bring it towards the bottom. We'll rotate it like fully, like so. Actually, maybe point it down even. And actually, let's go like that. And stick it maybe here. And I'm actually covering up this point, but it's whatever. And that looks pretty cool. We'll leave it at that. And we can select all of these now. Command J to duplicate. And I'm going to select the ones below actually here. Command T, rotate, and maybe move it towards the center. And you just got to play around with this and get something that you think looks cool. We can change the size, maybe make it smaller. That's pretty neat, I guess. Actually, let's have it pointing down. Maybe that'll look cooler. There we go, that's pretty neat. Let's duplicate that one more time. Alright, that's alright. You guys get the gist. You just gotta mess around with it. Put things in different places and whatnot. This isn't the best setup, but for tutorial sake, we're just gonna keep moving on. So we have a bunch of layers and groups here. So our Photoshop might be running slow. So I'm gonna group everything, and I'm gonna duplicate that group, hide the first group, and I'm just gonna merge this group together. Now this will change how it looks, but I don't want my Photoshop running slowly because of this tutorial. So you will probably want to keep it in the group. But if you want to do it this way as well, you can. But now we're going to actually add some final touches and actually make this really good. So one thing I forgot to do actually before merging this is add a circle shape. So I'm going to delete this real quick. And I'm going to find my top shape, which is this green one. And that's right here. And I'm going to go below that, create a new layer. So right here, layer 4. And I'm going to go to the ellipse tool and create a circle right here. Cool. And I'm going to select a yellow for that. You can select obviously any color you want, and I'll place it somewhere I like. So that's, yeah, right there works. And I'm going to bring down the opacity. Yeah, that's maybe a little too much. So 60 works. And we're going to duplicate the ellipse. Command T to transform it, make it smaller so there's one on the inside like so, and bring down that one's opacity a little bit more. 40% works. And we could add a gradient to this, but when you add a gradient overlay, it doesn't overlay because it's like a fully saturated yellow. So what we can do is create a new layer that's a clipping mask on either one of these. So boom, boom, boom. Okay, and then select the bigger one first, grab the brush tool, make sure you have a black, just go across the bottom like so, decrease the opacity a little bit just so it's a little darker. Go to the other one, get the black on top, decrease the opacity a little bit, and cool, now you kind of makes it a little more interesting. You can add white if you want, but I don't know if that would make a big difference. And then I can finally merge this so things are a little faster. Okay, and we want to create a new layer, make it a clipping mask, and we're going to add some glow and things. So let's get the brush tool. It's at 400. 400 will work. And first we're going to do the yellow. So let's grab the yellow and just boom, plop it on right there. And I'm going to actually grab the eraser tool, make it a little smaller, and erase some of the bits on the green. You can leave some of the edges because it'll still look fine, but yeah, that'll work. Get the brush tool again. This time we're going to get the green. Maybe make the brush a little smaller, go across like that. There's some green up here. Let's get a little bit of that. Alright, then let's grab the pink. Get the little bit there, get the little bit there. I think there's a bit here, so we'll just plop a little bit there. And oh, actually this is on a clipping mask. We don't need it to be a clipping mask, so let's alt click off of that. And then let's get the blue. So okay, that will work. And this is like the dominant one, so go smaller, make it bigger towards the middle. Alright. Alright, cool. And then we can set that to screen, decrease the opacity a little bit, and cool, now it's looking even better. We've got some glow going on. Let's put these two layers in a group. Obviously yours might be a group and a layer if you didn't merge it. But on that group, we want to create a clipping mask of levels. Boom. And then we want to adjust the settings so the left one is 38, and then the top or the right one, The left one's 38, the right one is 220. And this will really kind of brighten things up. And this is where I said if you made the bottom darker, you can kind of adjust for it. That looks pretty good. And then let's go down here and get a solid color. And we're going to make this another sort of blue, and it's actually going to be 2A65A7. Alright, and then we're going to set that to lighten, and then we're going to bring down the opacity a little bit, maybe 40s or 30s. I think 35 will work. And I'm actually going to select the group real fast, and we're going to bring it towards the middle a little bit. And that is essentially everything there is to it. So yeah, the last thing I did was add a bit of a blur. So if you want to do that, you can duplicate the whole group. Make sure the level stays as a clipping mask. You don't want that affecting the background. Select the bottom group, Command E to just merge it. So this includes the kind of screen color. You want to include that. And you want to go to Filter, Blur, Motion Blur. And I have my angle at 25, distance 230. Click OK, and boom, there you go. So guys, that's basically it. That's my technique to creating facets in Photoshop. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you can create some really sweet things in Photoshop using this. If you enjoyed this, please leave a like. At 100 likes, I'll include this Photoshop file for you guys, so you guys can use my facet for other things, or help it use it to help you create yours. But anyway, be sure to subscribe for more tutorials. Follow me on Twitter at Qehzy for updates and for future videos, so you get notified ahead of time what's coming, etc. You get to see my work. Add my Snapchat, which is Qehzy. Follow my Instagram, which is That's Qehzy. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.